Okay, well, a speech I wanted to talk about, I suspect may be controversial, I don't know. It was about the rights of transgender people. Who transgender people are? They pretty much, a definition of transgender is pretty much anybody who does not fit into normal gender norms, like let's say transsexuals, transvestites, people like that. People can, yeah, see, not everybody agrees with me. Well, let's hear me out. Oh, no, it's just your facial expression. I thought, oh my gosh, you just hate this. But, okay. Well, yeah, basically, people who don't fit into normal gender can be discriminated against because they are different. One of the reasons that this could happen is because people understand very little about people who are like this. Only 8% of people out there know someone who is transgender. 8%. Also, there's public perceptions that are negative about them being all freaky, or that they're like prostitutes and things like that. That they're like maniacs. But I think if if people knew them personally, they would probably, most of them would seem a lot more normal. Many other reasons why they are discriminated against is because, because most people don't want to resemble the opposite gender, or they fit in easily into the one that they were born into. And there's also what is known as the Klan fallacy. Basically, an example of what the Ku Klux Klan has done with racial minorities historically was take the worst examples of those people and overgeneralize and say that they're all like that. Let's say, the definition of transphobia is the reaction of fear, loathing, or the wanting to discriminate against people because of the way they express themselves, because the way they express their gender. A number of ways that a person who is transgender can be discriminated against could be housing or employment, like not wanting to hire a person because of the way they look, because you're afraid that they're going to scare away customers. They can be put in dangerous situations in prisons because they might be targeted by prisoners. Homeless shelters would not accept them. People do not want them to use the public bathrooms because they do not really fit in. People will say that they might be sexual predators. The same with hospitals and healthcare. Healthcare clinics may not be very knowledgeable about how to treat certain needs that they might have, or they might be uncomfortable with accepting them. Of course, there's religion. Many religions are not accepting of people who do not conform to gender norms. And there's also the media. Schools are the same, where they do not always have facilities that are, or environments that are accepting of people. Many times bullying is considered acceptable for people who do not fit in the gender norms. Even normal people who just simply break some sort of taboo, like a guy wearing pink or something like that, could be made fun of. There's much of the social discrimination out there. Could be, examples would be, alienation, socially excluding the person, not wanting to talk to them. There's verbal and physical harassment. There's people who have been bullied or physically assaulted because of the way that they looked, for being transgender. People can be abused because of it. Their families could disown them. I've known transgender people who have been kicked out by their families, who have not been able to talk to them. They've been homeless because their families disowned them when they were teenagers. And people have been murdered because of it. People have been targeted as in hate crimes because of the way that they dressed, or the way that they acted. The media is also portrays gender variant people in ways that are very negative. They could, well, like sensationalizing things that are like considered freaky, or there's other stereotypes, over-sexualizing them or censoring them in the name of decency. Even though there are people who live this way every day, they could be being erased by the media, or at least the reality of it. People often say that they are confused, that they're sick. People usually stereotype them as sex workers, even though a large percentage of them do get into sex work. It's usually because of institutions like job discrimination. People could accuse them of being selfish for wanting to do this to themselves because they're afraid of what it would do to the rest of the family or the community. And of course, people accuse them of being sinners and bad people because for what reason they feel motivated to do this to themselves. People who say this, they don't really understand what their inner motivations are for doing this. The ways to be like an ally to somebody who's transgendered is to treat them with more respect. I don't know what your personal beliefs are, but you could probably still agree that treating others with respect is still better than wanting to inflict your own personal judgment on somebody who's different just because, even if in spite of what you might want to believe personally. There's things that you could do that might be considered rude, like asking them personal questions that you would not ask a normal person, or cisgendered person is basically a person who is not transgender, like asking them about their genitals or surgery or how they have sex or things like that that you would not ask a normal person. That would be very personal and kind of rude to bring up otherwise. Also, telling other people about their transgender status without their permission. Many people, after they get a sex change, they want to blend in with society and not have to worry about discrimination. And if they can blend in, they don't want other people outing them. Or also kind of double-sided compliments, like you used to look so much better as a guy, things like that. Don't make assumptions about things like their sexual orientation. They're not, being transgender is not the same as being gay, and so they don't always have the same sexual orientation. And also using words that would be considered slurs like she-male or he-she, or tranny, things like that. Statistically, transgender people are at high risk for depression and suicide. 41% of them who have attempted suicide, according to surveys, and this is the people who were not successful. 62 claim that they have experienced depression. There's high rates of HIV in the transgender community, especially within the African American transgender community. The 37% have experienced harassment in retail stores, 25% in healthcare, 35% in restaurants and hotels, 29% have been harassed by the police. 28% postpone seeking medical treatment because of fear of bias, and 41% are unable to pay a doctor. 15% live in poverty. And there's also high rates of using alcohol and cigarettes or other drugs as coping mechanisms. As far as reasons to become a transgender ally, I believe that it would be better to be an ally to someone regardless of whether or not you feel comfortable with them. I think it would make you a better person. To be respectful, even if, and set aside any personal bias that you might have. Okay, any questions?
Yes, I want to say that, you're saying being an ally or being respectful.